Hello, welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and today I have a big used book haul. So, over the past, it's been probably close to 2 months or so, I've had some used books sitting here that I meant to make a video about, but I'm just finally getting around to it. I had gone to, I think, at least two library book sales, and also going into secondhand charity shops, and I had had some luck in finding some really interesting books. None of the books I'm going to be showing I've read, so of course, anybody who watches this, if you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear what you think about them. It's not 100% guaranteed that I will read every single one of these books if I, of course, don't hear anything good about it, or if I hear things that are negative. These were books that ended up being, they were so cheap and they cost so little that they really weren't a risk, bringing them home, just on the chance that maybe they'd be interesting. But they all seemed interesting to me. So again, if anybody has read any of these, I'd love to hear your opinion. So first I'll go with the nonfiction. Now, I don't have these in a particular order. I just put the two piles into fiction and nonfiction. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about each of these because it'll go on too long. So I'll just very quickly show them, and again, hopefully hear back from some people about some of these books. So the first one that I found actually is Laughing Screaming, Modern Hollywood Horror and Comedy by William Paul. And this one came out, and on the back you got John Belushi. This came out actually, 1994. And this is kind of a study of, from what I understand, horror and comedy cinema side by side. Looking at how they both tend to appeal to, I mean, I don't know if I entirely would put it this way, but the lowest common denominator, I think that's how the description, the jacket refers to it. But it is certainly true that I've heard filmmakers who have made both comedies and horror talk about how they are very similar. In both situations, you're trying to make your audience have an involuntary visceral reaction, whether through laughing or screaming or whatever it might be. That's why, oftentimes people in comedy tend to transition very well into horror. You end up kind of hitting the same beats in a lot of ways. So this is 94. I don't know if this is going to feel dated at all, but it certainly seemed like an interesting one to check out. The next one here, we've got, Friends Divided, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson by Gordon S. Wood. I have read some other works by Gordon S. Wood. He's a very well-known historian on the American Revolution. And I had seen this book around for a while, and I saw it at the book sale for I think maybe $2 of that. Actually a really good condition hardcover. And I'm fascinated by both of these individuals and their friendship. The friendship that they gained during the Revolution, and then of course they ended up becoming political rivals, going against each other in the election of 1800, which there's a book on that I want to read, I think, before I get to this. And that's that one right there, Adams versus Jefferson, the tumultuous election of 1800. So I might get to that in the beginning of 2022, and then eventually move on to this one. But this certainly seemed very interesting, seeing their friendship, kind of be strained, and then towards the end of their life, coming back together as friends, as pen pals. So interesting couple of guys who are very opposite in many ways, but we're seemingly drawn to each other still. Here's another U.S. history. We got Jill Lepore, These Truths, The History of the United States. Single volume history of the United States as taken from Jill Lepore's point of view. I have read one other Jill Lepore book, and that is, it was The Name of War, about King Philip's War, which I think was more of a book on, less on the war and more on semantics and the way we use language. But I remember enjoying that one. And again, this is a great condition hardcover that I was able to get dirt cheap, and I figured, why not? Okay, next one. Here we go. British history. Got A Brief History of British Kings and Queens by Mike Ashley. And this is Robinson Press. I got this more as a reference. You'll see in my fiction pile, I do have some books on British royalty, British monarchy. And I kind of figured that if I'm going to be reading as a goal in 2022 more historical fiction, having something like this to kind of peruse through and look things up about different monarchs would actually be very helpful to me as I am reading historical fiction about medieval and Renaissance, monarchy, politics, and everything else. So, just kind of a reference book to have on the shelf is mostly how I'm looking at this one. Oh, here's an old one. I remember looking through this as a kid. And so we got Life in a Medieval Castle by Joseph and Francis Geese. I'm not sure if I'm saying that one, the last name correctly. This is, of course, a well-known one. It's got some illustrations in it. But this has been around for a long time. This one was originally published, 1965 or... oh no, 74. So 1974, and like I said, I remember seeing copies of this when I was young. I think I had some teachers in high school also who had like these in the room, and I would, look through them quite a bit. And I saw this in paperback that's, it's an old paperback, and it's actually in pretty decent condition. I think even though I'm sure a lot of the information is dated, I'm guessing it'll still probably be a pleasure to go through. So it's one that I do think I'll actually end up reading. And then we got, here's a well-known one. Okay, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. The Emperor of All Maladies, a biography of cancer. One that, of course, I had seen for a long time and found a pretty decent condition paperback. One that I've been wanting to obtain for quite a while now. So I was glad to find this one. Next, this one looks really interesting. This was a Shermans March in Myth and Memory by Edward Caldwell and Paul Ashdown. And who's the publisher on this one? Let me see. Roman and Littlefield Publishers. So this one originally came out, let's see if I can find the date on here, 2008. I do have an interest in historical memory. How the past is remembered and how that memory is used in the present. Certainly Sherman's March, as he made his march to the sea in the Civil War, is one that seems like it certainly hurt the South and it devastated parts of it, but it was one that was overblown in a lot of ways from the reality. So this looks like it'll go into that, into how people remember that march and how it was used. So I like especially in myth and memory, sound really intriguing to me. So this looks like it'll be a good Civil War study. Next one. The next few I don't know really much about. This one I really don't know anything about, but I was struck by the cover. I really like the really nice cover design on this. And it's the Skereth of Cornello, A Tale of Renaissance Forgery. It looks like some kind of, I'm thinking maybe, again, I don't know much about this. It seemed like it was almost like a scientific forgery or something like that occurred, during the Renaissance. So again, I don't know much about this at all, barely anything, but it looked fun. It looked like it would be kind of a little bit quirky, maybe even, a history about fraud. Anyway, that's this one. If people have read anything, have read this, I'm really curious to hear what you think. Next one, Machine Made. Tammany Hall and the Creation of Modern American Politics. I've read some works on the Tammany political machine of New York City in the 19th century, and I didn't know if this one had a decent reputation, but I figured I would pick it up and look into it more. So again, if anybody's read this one, let me know, is it a good history of it? Is it worth it? Or should I wait for something else? Here's another history of New York. I've read a decent amount of history of New York. It's a city that I know fairly well. I used to take the train in with my grandfather when I was a kid because he was a conductor to Grand Central Station. And then after that, I would always go into the city quite a bit. And I've taken courses on New York history and everything. So New York history always interest me. So this one caught my eye. Anthony Flint's Wrestling with Moses, How Jane Jacob Took on New York's Master Builder and Transformed the American City. So, yeah, we've got Robert Moses, who he leveled huge parts of the city to update it, to modernize it, and you know, destroyed a lot of American New York heritage along the way. And you've got Jane Jacobs, who I think was trying to protect Greenwich Village from Moses. This is in the mid 20th century when this was occurring, and apparently this is how I'm assuming Greenwich Village was saved from the wrecking ball. So it looked interesting. Another one that I've seen for years and years, and I saw this copy and figured, what the heck, might as well grab it and take a closer look, and that's Susan Jacoby, I think I'm saying it. The Age of American Unreason. I had read Freethinkers, which is kind of a popular history of skepticism and unbelief in American history, and I enjoyed that overall. And this is something of a follow-up to that. And I'm wondering, you know, this came out when, let's see, 2008, so the end of the Bush administration. I don't know if this is so much a history or a commentary on that present time. I haven't looked enough into it, but I figured, again, this is another one that was incredibly cheap and in good condition, so I picked it up just on the chance that maybe I'll get around to reading it. This next one is more of a collection that I'll dip in and out of, and that's American Movie Critics, an anthology from the silence until now. So these are film criticism, reviews of films, right, going all the way back to really the beginning of film. And you know, I am something, like I mentioned before, something of a film buff, especially a horror film. And I saw that there were actually some horror films reviewed in here that I will certainly like to get into. You've got Carl Sandburg on the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. You got H.D. on the Passion of Joan of Arc. That was not horror, but certainly good. I got stuff on Propaganda, King Kong, The Invisible Man, another one on King Kong. So yeah, I mean, you know, certainly some films that I'm interested in, and we've even got stuff from Siegfried Krakauer, from Caligari to Hitler, his study of looking at Weimar Republic films and about how they kind of almost presaged the rise of Hitler, I believe. So anyway, anthology of film criticism, film review, that, again, is something I'll dive in and out of and selectively read, more or less, rather than cover to cover. Another history book here. We've got Stephen Ambrose, Band of Brothers. Yeah, the E Company, 506th Regiment, 101st Airborne, from Normandy to Hitler's Eagle's Nest. I've actually not seen the show. I haven't watched Band of Brothers. I have actually not read Stephen Ambrose. I do have a couple of his books that I've gotten secondhand that I haven't gotten to yet. Of course, the other one on Lewis and Clark, Undaunted Courage. And I think I have another one, yeah, up here. I got Citizen Soldiers. So I do want to get to some more World War II history in 2022, so maybe I'll read either this one or Citizen Soldiers, something like that, for next year. Maybe I'll read them both. I don't know. We'll see. And the last history book that I had gotten over the past 2 months or so is Stephen W. Sears' Gettysburg. I had read his Landscape Turned Red about Antietam, and I thought that was an excellent battle history. So I am certainly looking forward to seeing what he does with Gettysburg. And again, I was having this little corner here. This is just a really good condition paperback. But this is one that I've been eyeing for a while and kind of wish that I had the hardcover of. And if I get the hardcover, I'll certainly trade it in. Yeah, one of the ones on the Civil War that I was really excited to find. And next, move on to the fiction books. Okay, so the first fiction book that I found really nice condition. I love this cover, and that is The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. And just, I mean, if you look at the title page on here, yeah, really nicely done. It's It's from 1985. I really like the printing of this. I have not read The Phantom of the Opera yet. Maybe that's one that I'll also read next year. But I really... Oh, it's my dog barking at somebody who had the nerve to walk in their yard across the street. But anyway, I love that cover. I just thought that was excellent. Another horror book that I picked up secondhand. We got Robert Bloch's Psycho. I don't think that needs any introduction at all. It's got a little mark on the top there, but yeah, nice, thin, quick book, quick read. I'm sure this is one that I'll get to next year. Originally published in 1959, and of course the basis for the Hitchcock film from 1960. In 2022, I want to read more historical fiction. There's a couple authors that I have had my eye on that I want to give a shot as far as historical fiction goes. One of them is Sarah Waters, and I have been lucky enough to find a bunch of her stuff lately, secondhand. So here's one of them, The Little Stranger, which was made into a pretty good film. Was it 2 years ago now, maybe? Nice little gothic piece. So, yeah, I believe this took place, I think, after World War II. Has to do with like a crumbling estate and a guy who kind of dreamed of the life in that estate as a child, and is trying to kind of worm his way into that family now. But I like the movie, and I've heard nothing but good things about Sarah Waters, so she's certainly one for historical fiction that I want to dive into. And another author that I want to dive into when it comes to historical fiction is Bernard Cornwell, and especially his Saxon tales. I made it known on my channel in the past that I do love Norse Viking culture and also Anglo-Saxons, and this seemed right up my alley. I've not seen the show The Last Kingdom, just because I don't watch TV series, not because I don't like them, because I don't have the time to actually watch them. The time that I would take to watch this is time that I take to read. So I can only really have one or the other right now. Excuse me. In my life. So I was lucky enough to find a couple of these. So I got the first one, The Last Kingdom. I got Lords of the North. And I had also picked up Sword Song. And I think that this is 3 out of the first 4, I believe. So I think I might have like 1, 2, and 4, maybe, there. One of them in the first 4, I know that I'm still missing. But I was happy to get these. And I think I have the 5th or 6th one in hardcover that I'd gotten earlier in the year, actually. And I did find another Bernard Cornwell, historical fiction, and that's Agincourt, in a really, still nice condition. Hardcover. So this is a standalone, but the Battle of Agincourt, and so I don't know what I'm going to get to first, but I'm definitely either going to get to the Saxon Tales or Agincourt next year. Maybe both, I don't know, but certainly one of them. Another one that so I'll just kind of go in order here. Another book that I've heard things about for a long time, Tim O'Brien, The Things They Carried, historical fiction, sort of, I think, about the Vietnam War that I've heard is quite impactful. I also picked up another person that I've heard a lot of great things about, and I picked this up because it was a good condition hardcover, although I don't know if I can read it yet. And that's Patrick O'Brien, The 100 Days, which I believe this is a part of a series, and it's pretty deep into the series, I think. But I don't know if these sorts of things can be read as standalones, or if you have to have read the previous books. But that was the only one that they had at the sale. And again, I got it for, it was maybe $1, $2 max. So it was not a big risk for me. But if you've read this series, let me know if they can be read as standalone, or if I really should read the previous ones first. And another individual that, of the 3 of Bernard Cornwell and Sarah Waters, the third person that I had kind of had my eye on because I saw that she wrote historical fiction, and it's kind of outside of my, just barely kind of outside of my wheelhouse, my comfort zone, which is one of the reasons I wanted to give it a try, and that is Alison Weir. So I picked up 2 books two historical fiction books, or about English queens. So we've got Innocent Traitor, and we have the Lady Elizabeth. So Alison Weir, I know that she has had quite a few pretty popular books on like women in the Middle Ages, nonfiction works. So I figured she's somebody that I should give a shot to for historical fiction. I couldn't really get this sticker off, unfortunately, but that's okay. Again, these were really cheap. So this one I think is about Lady Jane Grey, and of course you have Elizabeth. So those are two that I might get to in 2022. And the last fiction that I picked up is another one that I'd seen around for really long. And again, I saw a decent condition hardcover. Might as well give it a shot. So we've got The Historian, right, by Elizabeth Kostova, a vampire novel, right? So I'd heard, I think at one point I had heard not so great things, but then recently I heard really good things about it. So I don't know what to expect necessarily, but I like vampires. I like history, which is draws on at least. So this seemed like a pretty good bet that I might at least hopefully enjoy this. So that's the last one. There's a lot of books, like I said. That's why I didn't want to take too much time for any of them. But if any of those, that you've read, I'd love to hear from you, and let me know what you think. All right, and as always, thank you, BookTube.